Well, good day, everybody. It's Dr. A back in the garden, and oh boy, are we in a garden. They dressed me up at East Coast Garden Center in Millsboro, Delaware, where we happen to be standing in front of their tremendous selection of perennials. Now, I'm not alone. I'm with Julie, who is the perennial guru here.
Guru?
She knows, she's forgotten more than most of us have ever learned about perennials, but we're just going to walk around and talk about these cool plants. You know, you may be watching this in Montreal or in Berlin for all I know, so you're probably not going to get to East Coast Garden Center, but that doesn't matter. You're going to love it. So come on, we're going to go for a little walk.
Yep, we're walking.
And these are all people that are actually walking for a reason. Yeah, looking good. You're on candid camera here.
Carts full of perennials.
Come on, we're going to just walk over
We're
here,
going to
Julie.
slide over here after everyone's away.
So, Julie,
Yes, sir.
we're going to talk about some of the cool plants that you have here.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this table. There's a couple of plants that I think have become very important, not because necessarily of the plant itself, but they have the foliage. So what am I looking at here?
You're looking at lungwort, as it's known, or pulmonaria. So this whole table kind of has a bit of a theme. We have the silvers happening here. But we started here first because of the foliage, and then we'll catch on to some other features of these plants.
Now,
but
we like this plant because it does what where?
It fills in and brightens up shade. Moist shade, typically for us. We eventually get some flowers on here as well.
It flowers early in the spring.
Yes.
And usually with kind of bluish lavender flowers, and there's some pinks as well, but these are terrific plants.
Yes.
And we have a wee bit of a story, don't we?
As always, that I look forward to, yes.
So these are called lungwort for a reason. And I've talked to Julie about this and other people, but you know, when you're doing gardening, you're not gardening for a plant, you're gardening for the good feeling of what these plants bring you. And of course, they never invite me twice here because I'm always destroying their plants. But these plants are thought to look like the alveoli of the lungs.
Correct.
And thus, the physicians and the botanists back then called it pulmonaria, and we call it
lungwort.
Lungwort.
Yes.
And if you see a wart, it means useful for or looks like. So there's a cool story, but a great plant. And what do you got here?
So here we have Brunera, or what we also call the false forget-me-not. Yep. And Jen, if you can pan down, there's some flowers still hanging around, and you'll see very quickly why it has its name of the false forget-me-not.
So the false forget-me-not is a cool plant, but also a really useful plant.
Yes.
For certainly shade and moisture. You know, even though sometimes you feel like you're in a drought, these roots go down a ways, so that they do enjoy kind of that moist soil. And look at them. These are spectacular. Well done. Well done. And you know, don't get too close to them because some people get allergic to them.
Some people come away itchy when they stalk the tables. But again, another feature, the deer. Stay away from both of these. Yep. Not a big fan.
Yeah. And,
yes.
And we're going to do a little bit of other plants that those deer-crazed people will want to hear about. So come on, let's just walk slowly over here.
All right, we'll walk our way. And I find a lot of times when we're walking through the garden center or working here, people will put on the brakes. Something always is on a table that sort of stops people in their tracks.
So what puts on the brakes here, do you
think?
At
this table for sure, I'd see hanging out in the back there are Indian pinks or the spigelia. Yes, absolutely. I think it's the color. The color for shade is another reason people stop. And then the feature that it's got the tubular flowers, hummingbirds, and it's a native.
It's a native.
Yes.
So, you know, one of the major trends that all of people looking at this are asking themselves, well, is it native? Can I use it for whatever? Pollinators and all that cool stuff. Again, another terrific plant. This Indian pink, for obvious reasons, could be Indian red because this is actually one called Little Red Heart. It's actually a native R. It's a native times native to make this.
Yes.
And but I just love this thing.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is spreads really quite easily.
That's what I was going to add on.
And it's good. It's a really good plant. So Indian pinks for your native collection, and a plant that you're going to love regardless of whether it's native or not.
Yes.
But there's something else that really I think is important. Are these things here? What do we got?
The hellebore, or the Lenten roses. A terrific feature about them: foliage, flowers, and evergreen.
And
deer resistant.
Deer resistant. In fact, they're so deer resistant that the East Coast Garden Center has a label in here, a program that one of their producers for deer proof. This is deer lirius. In other words, if you see a plant that has deer lirius at ECGC, it means a deer won't touch it unless they're starving. But you know, let's not go there. There are plants that they're going to eat much more readily than they're going to eat hellebore.
They'll sample. They've come and sample, but the good thing is they're not going to come back and they're not going to decimate it.
And while we're doing hellebores, these are great. This is the old-fashioned Lenten rose, you know, cool plant. But the new fashion, with the variegated foliage, this is to die for.
Yeah. And again, it's the little lightening up the shade, the little sparkle of silver.
Because hellebore foliage can look nice, but this looks fabulous all season, and it has great flowers as well.
And we talked yesterday real quick about them using them as a cut flower. Hellebore, we cut them in January. It sat in a vase of water for 30 days.
So the old-fashioned hellebore has flowers that kind of go like this, and they're fine if you want to crick your neck. But the new ones have flowers that go straight up, and that's the cut flower thing. And you're so again, I'm just so excited about all this cool stuff. I mean, there's everything. We could stop anywhere. But let's just take a look at a few other things here. I want to go over to this table.
Okay.
So come on, we're going to do a couple more, and then we're going to give you a break because we could bore these people all day.
Yes.
But, Julie, I think this is another spectacular, underused plant.
It is.
So talk to me about why this is such a cool plant.
Carex feather falls, and as you pick it up, and you can see the name is for a reason, this nice cascading foliage coming down, terrific in containers. Pretty much light tolerant, any kind of light you give it.
This is almost indestructible.
Yes.
And I say almost, I mean, you know, something will sit on it or whatever. But Feather Falls is one of my favorites. It's Carex, it's a sedge. I mean, the deer don't touch it. I mean, this is just one of those plants that if you don't know what to do, get a Carex.
Yep.
It takes full sun, it takes partial shade. It actually has flowers, but boy, look at it, it's so pretty.
And so quick to fill in.
It just fills in beautifully.
And pretty much evergreen.
Yep.
So you got that something around all the time.
And it's one of those things that, you know, if you really get tired of it, you know, you can just go whack and it'll come back beautifully.
That's what I do every few months here too. So I get it. I feel it.
But you got to be tough if you're a gardener. So the whole whacking thing works very, very well. But you've also got some cool other things here that I've always enjoyed.
Delphiniums. Another one, sort of sunshade, but some beautiful, I mean, talk about height in the garden, and deep, deep colors of blues and whites.
And delphinium are one of those plants that we've learned that they're spectacular when you plant them early, you enjoy them, and then if they start to decline, just cut them back.
Yeah.
Cold is not a problem for delphinium.
Correct.
Cold, they'll take zone 3, but the heat can get them. But that's okay, enjoy them.
Yes.
My gosh, as a cut flower, as a plant, everybody's gonna say, wow, what is that? And just give them heck. And what about this thing?
Our
this
digitalis, the foxgloves?
Yeah.
Yes. So here we go, another one the deer just don't like, and this is the Dalmatian rose.
Yep.
So a good mix, show-stopping flowers.
Well, and the flowers go straight up, and are you ready for this?
No.
No, this is called foxglove. And you've got to ask yourself,
where'd that come from?
How
they get the name?
The
foxes don't wear gloves.
No, they. However, unfortunately, we don't have flowers here. When you have flowers in your garden, ladies and gentlemen, look at the flowers and remember the story of the fox who was trying to get to the chickens, but he made too much noise.
Okay.
So the wood fairy popped up and said to the fox, "What's your problem? Why are you crying?" He says, "I can't get to the chickens. I'm making too much noise." And she said, "Well, put one of these flowers on each."
That's adorable.
finger.
Now I can't look at
And
this.
it became known as the fox's glove. And it's we call it foxglove. Isn't that cool?
It's so cool.
You got a plant, it's beautiful anyway, and again, have a good fun, but you know.
Almost as cute. We love it when they're in flower and we see the big bees crawling in.
They're beautiful.
So
Come on, let's finish up with one more. Where do you want to go?
Let's hit the sun side a little. We stayed in the shade for a bit. So another one I think is long blooming. Let's do the Agastaki, please. I love these guys. So Blue Fortune and Little Adders.
So you better tell them slowly what this is.
I say Agastaki.
Okay.
If that's right.
Now, if you really want to sound really kind of cool and English, It's Agostiki.
I just can't get that out.
But if you say Agostiki, most people are going to laugh at you.
Yes.
So Agastache or as you
hummingbird mint.
Oh my gosh.
Anise hyssop.
Yep,
So a lot of aliases here.
So why do we like this? I know you say it's pretty and it attracts a lot of things.
Yes. Fragrant.
Fragrance.
Long flowering.
And long flowering. And the fragrance is mostly
Sort of that minty.
in the
Yes.
foliage. So put this, oh, I just broke some. Put this somewhere where you walk by it, okay? And fragrance will come up from the foliage. You can put it anywhere you want.
Right.
But the whole fragrance thing is a huge trend today. We want to have more fragrance in our garden.
More
plants in our
sensory
gardens.
experience,
And so
I
you've got
think.
some
So
great
we have
stuff.
that.
This is Blue Fortune, I assume.
Yes.
And this is sort of the easiest, I say the easiest, the one that we know works easy. And all of these are some really wonderful. And these are, by the way, natives. They're native to the southwestern United States.
Yes.
And they do very, very well.
They do excellent here, so
Let's
we're happy
do
to
one
have them.
more and then we'll leave them go. We can either do Monardas or we can do
Monardas,
Fluxes or
let's stop
whatever you
there.
like.
We did highlight them this month for our newsletter, so it's sort of our perennial of the month.
Cool.
They're coming to season. We got some bees hanging out on the bee balm.
And the bee balm.
So it's also balm, going back to usefulness or warts.
Yep.
We've got some medicinal history here, correct?
We have a ton of history here. Do you want to know another story?
I do.
Okay, now
Okay.
we are finishing, I promise. But this is a plant that people realized, it's a native, by the way.
Right.
It's a plant that people realized that if you took the foliage,
Again, fragrant foliage.
yeah, very fragrant, and you made a little poultice out of it, like this, okay? And it was found out to be a balm, B-A-L-M, for bee bites or any stinging things.
Right.
So it became known as bee balm.
Bee balm.
And it's a great plant. However, are we ready for this?
Yes.
We might remember this thing called the Boston Tea Party. Now, the Boston Tea Party was such in the 1700s where the colonists threw all the tea into the Boston Harbor.
Right.
Well, it turns out that all these colonists were English. I mean, they came from England. Their brew of choice was tea. I mean, there's no tea left. They can't get it from India. They can't get it from the boat. It's in the bottom of the harbor.
Right.
And this actually took a long time before tea came back to America, so they had to find a substitute.
A little resourceful.
They found a substitute with the leaves of this plant. And this plant is native to this country, but really big in upstate New York, in a place called Oswego, New York. And this became known as Oswego tea. So it's actually, its other common name is Oswego tea and bee balm. Now, nobody's going to remember that, but who cares?
I think they will.
It's fun. And it's a beautiful flower, and it attracts pollinators like anything.
Yep, and also deer hate it.
Yeah, deer hate it.
They're on our hit list. We just have to point that out. Yep.
So this has been fun.
Thank you.
And this has been great.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're at the
It's been
East
a
Coast
pleasure.
Garden Center, Millsboro, Delaware. And I'm not saying it right, but
You
sort
said
of
it
like,
excellent.
Did I say it
Great
okay?
job. Yep.
And if you're in the area, of course, come
Stop
see
by.
this fabulous place. But if you're not in the area, have fun. This gardening is supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, find something else to do.
Yes.
It's called working in the garden for a reason.
Okay.
You know, we get tired, we get sore, but we
has
never get
payoffs.
old. We
No.
never get old because we always got something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Julie.
Thank you. It's been
great
a
fun.
pleasure.